Good morning, everybody. Good to see all of you here this morning. And every once in a while, I like to do is thank every young ones that we have here, the little ones that make the noises, that laugh, that sometimes cry as well, and scream, throw things, and all those things. It's hard enough, I know, for some of you adults to listen to some of Steve and my preaching, but imagine the young ones who have no idea concept of what's going on and why they have to be quiet. This is probably the only time where they're told they need to be quiet, and they don't get that. And so I just want you to know that we're thankful for them, and it's okay that they're crying. It's okay that they're screaming because they're here. And I feel blessed when we have the young ones here. So don't feel bad at all when your young ones make some noise because all of us in here love to hear it. Have you ever been that you were really thankful for, but then didn't do anything with it? A couple years ago, I was given a pair of shoes by my wife. Loved the shoes. They were some New Balance shoes, kind of the old school shoes, and I was excited about it because I actually looked them up. She didn't even know that I had already looked them up, and I had a picture of them on my phone, and I was, waiting for them to go on, because shoes are outrageous. Like all the old school shoes, like that, you used to look back in my age in the 80s, all the old people wore. Like, I don't want to be an old person. Now, us old people are wearing them later because they're now cool. Anyway, I had this picture of this shoe, and I'm like, oh, I need to get this shoe. And she got it for me for my birthday. My birthday is around the wintertime. So I didn't want to wear the shoes out during wintertime because snow, mud, you're going to get on all over the shoes, and you're going to mess them up. You don't want to do that. So I was very appreciative. I even showed her the picture. I'm like, yeah, I got these shoes. Thank you. These are the ones I wanted. She was excited about it, that she got something that I was actually going to wear and liked. But then I didn't wear them. And so it wasn't until around, I think, June, because sometimes we have snow here in May, that I finally wore them because I knew it was going to be dry. I knew there wasn't going to be any dust or mud. I could wear out the shoes and not get them messed up. And I remember coming down the stairs and I had the shoes on, and I was excited about them. And she's like, oh, I see you're finally wearing the shoes that I got you. She knew that I hadn't been wearing these shoes for that time, and she thought, well, he thanked me then, but obviously he didn't like them. He wasn't very thankful for them after all because he hasn't worn them forever. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I do love them. I'm thankful for them. I just didn't want to wear them in winter. But have you ever had that gift that someone gave you and you thanked them profusely for it, and then you put it away and you never saw it again until maybe you had a white elephant gift party? Like, I'm going to bring that one out. That's when you were thankful for it, right? What do we do with gifts from God that we are thankful for? Do we do anything with it, or are we just appreciative and thankful and move on? One of the great things, if we might call it a good problem, is that we're growing. We're growing continually, and we've been growing. I think, I was talking to someone the other day at a doctor's appointment, and they were asking me about the church in which, I'm a part of, and they were saying that, that the church they attended has never been the same since COVID. And that's a common story, that a lot of congregations have not been the same since COVID. And usually what they're talking about is that they have lost number and they never recouped who was coming before COVID. And I said, well, you know what? That's not been what's happened with us at Parker. We've done nothing but grow since COVID. We grew through COVID. So we've been blessed with that growth. And now you're looking around and you're like, wow, this looks a little sparse this morning. There's lots of people out for Thanksgiving, okay? Lots of people there's some sick people here as well. But I looked up in our directory, we've got over 150 souls that are part of this congregation. Rather than that is God. That is God growing this congregation through people who are looking for a church, people who have been immersed into Christ for the forgiveness of sins and added to His church, and we're growing. And so what are we going to do about that? How are we going to respond? And hopefully we're grateful. Hopefully we're thankful. A few weeks ago we talked about, hey, you know what? We need to be thinking about how we're giving because of the building that we are needing. That we have classrooms that are full. That we have classes that are full on Sunday mornings and they are full on Wednesday nights. And how are we responding? One of the things that I want us to consider in how we respond is growing ourselves. Growing in what we do. Growing beyond where we're at. You know, on Wednesday nights right now, we have several different teachers who are volunteering to teach the class of 3-year-olds to 6th graders. We usually do that in the summer because we have lots of people who are out during the summer, right? So we combined all the classes together, and it makes sense, it's expedient, and it helps to work around the number of teachers who might not be present to teach over the summer. But right now, we're in November, and we're about ready to head into the winter quarter, and guess what we're still having on Wednesday nights? We have one teacher who is teaching the entirety of the 3-year-olds to 6th graders. Why? Because we don't have anybody that's volunteering for those Wednesday night classes where they can be divvied up into their age-appropriate classes and be taught at their level. We got to step up. It's great to have growth. It's great to be growing. But we can't just look at the growth and go, thank you, God, for the growth, and then just continue on and never put the shoes on. Another thing that we need to consider is our growth where it comes to our leadership. We have 2 shepherds that are here. Okay? Daryl and Phil. Phil is down in Arizona right now with his family. We have 2 shepherds. We have 150 souls. Do you think that might be a little difficult for our 2 shepherds to guard the flock? You know, if you divvied up 75 people that they're looking after, that they're trying to watch, guard the flock of God that has been given to you, and they're doing that. But brethren, they need help because we're growing. So the lesson I have here this morning is geared kind of towards the idea of shepherds and what we're not looking for, but also this can be applied to our teachers, and this can be applied to even you in your life in how you work with others around you. Maybe you are an employer. This is how you need to be. And I imagine that all these things that we're going to get up here, you're going to see that you've run into all these people. And maybe you've actually run into these people, unfortunately, when it comes to a shepherd or an elder in the church. There's a preacher who tells the story, and they're in the Palestinian area, and he's talking about the relationship in the ancient world of a shepherd and its sheep. And he's painting this beautiful picture in the intimacy of a shepherd and sheep, and how the shepherd know all the sheep, and the sheep know the voice of the shepherd, and the shepherd goes out front and leads the sheep, and he tends to them, and he takes care of them, and he tends to their wounds, and he makes sure they're fed, he makes sure they're watered, and they're in a bus there full of people who've come in visiting this ancient part, or what was the ancient part of the world. And so he's talking about this story about these great people, and all of a sudden he looks and he noticed that he no longer has the attention of the people on the bus. And they're all looking out the window, watching this shepherd who is running around with the stick in his hand and throwing rocks at the sheep and hitting them with the backside and yelling different names at them and trying to get them to go in a general direction. And the preacher's like, what are you doing? He was so upset, he went down out of the bus, goes over to the guy and goes, what are you doing? I've been trying to tell these people here about the beauty of the relationship between a shepherd and its sheep. And here you are beating the sheep with the stick and throwing rocks at them and calling and shouting and yelling. What are you doing? And at first the guy didn't quite understand what was going on. And then He said, oh. It's like, I'm not the shepherd. I'm the butcher. So then he goes up and goes, okay, this is what's going on. That guy wasn't the shepherd, he's the butcher. But now we know exactly what we don't want in a shepherd to lead the church and what we do want. And so a few things of people that we're going to be looking at this morning, and we're going to be applying it to what we are looking for, what we have here as well, and how we can be in our families, in our around with our people in our schools, as well as people with work. Because, brethren, whether you realize it or not, in the context of this lesson, we're talking about shepherds, but we can extrapolate this out to those people that we're around. And if we think about it, we might be able to be the shepherd in our group. And the shepherd in our group is going to lead them to whom? We should be leading them to Jesus, the Good Shepherd. And so I'm going to do that with my wife and my family. And we're going to be the shepherds who are leading our family, our sons and our daughter, and now our son-in-law, as they start to lead their own life. But I'm still going to lead as best I can, even though they're leaving and cleaving. But I'm going to do that within my family. And you can do that within your family. And you can do that in the workplace as well. But the first thing that we don't want is we don't want the hired hand. Okay, we see that in John chapter 10, verse 11, where Jesus said to them again, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. This is verse 7. And now verse 10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, and I came that they might have life and have it abundantly. Verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who is not the owner of the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hireling here, they abandon the sheep to save themselves. The first sign of trouble, they're taken off. They're going to leave the sheep to be able to get killed or murdered by whoever's coming in because they don't want to get hurt, and they're going to leave. The first possibility of criticism, they're taking off. They want, oftentimes, the position, but not the work. Someone who is truly going to be a shepherd of God's flock is not worried about the position. They're more concerned with the work that needs to be done. But these people, and unfortunately, we've met these type of people that are just looking for the name tag, what it means to be. Some people would even use this on a resume. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the position, not the work. The next group of people, the next leadership is the cowboy. Now, the cowboy drives the herd. There's a fundamental difference in a shepherd and a cowboy. And now, generally, the cowboy is going to drive from behind. And they're going to be on a horse, and they're going to be prodding and pushing and yelling to get that cattle to go to where they want to go. And they're going to be driving them from behind. The fundamental difference is a shepherd is going to be in front leading the sheep. Now, I know that sometimes in some cultures in America and as well as places like New Zealand, they're driving their sheep. But this was not the case in ancient times, in the culture in which this is being depicted. The sheep went out in front and led the sheep. The cowboy is the one that brandishes the label, the sheriff, and says, look at me, and pushes you to do the things that he wants you to do. Hebrews 12, verse 2 says Jesus is the author and perfecter of our faith. That word perfecter means trailblazer. In other words, Jesus is not going to lead you into any place that he wouldn't go himself. That's the kind of shepherds that we need here in the growth of this church. It's not anybody who is afraid to do the work that they are asking others to do. They have done the work and they will do the work, and they're leading us to God. Because this, and actually it should be Matthew 16:24. I accidentally put that down instead of the 1. It's 16:24, and it says, Jesus says there, he that would follow me would take up their cross, die to self, take up their cross, and follow me. Follow me. This is what Jesus asks us to do, is to follow him. He gives us the path in which we are to lead. He doesn't go anywhere that we're not, that he hasn't gone himself. And so we don't want the cowboy. We don't want the cowboy coming in here with the sheriff badge and a gun and driving us to where we need to be. That's not the picture of Jesus. Closely associated there is the sheriff. The cowboy is driving. The sheriff is the one, is my way or the highway. You ever had an employer that's like that? I hope you've never had an elder or shepherd that's like that. But it's my way or the highway. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're speaking with? Do you believe in the authority of the eldership? Then get behind me and follow me. That's not really what you want in a leader. Is that really what you want in a boss? If you are an employer, is that what you have found that helps you to get your employees to do the work that they're doing? You know, many of the employees that we might come into, I remember being an employer myself or being a manager in retail, a lot of the people that are working may not really enjoy the job that they're doing. Have you ever considered that? You know, that's one of those reality bites, young people, we need to keep reminding you of as you go up and find a job. You may not love the job that you first have. That's not going to be a given. You may just have to have a job to get some money. Right? And what makes it worse in a job place where you don't want to work is an employer that doesn't realize that. And they make for a horrible atmosphere. And they're the sheriff. The buck stops with me. There's no discussing. There's only an argument of who I am and who you aren't. That's the sheriff's mentality. And unfortunately, we've had shepherds like that in the churches. I'm not talking about Phil or Daryl because... And what ends up happening is he gets more compliance than following. They're not really following the leaders. They're just complying with the stipulations that the sheriff has laid down. That's not a flock. It's more like a business of someone who doesn't care. As long as the work is getting done, they enforce the law and they keep the peace. Matthew 20. Turn with me to Matthew chapter 20. And let me read to you this description of what Jesus lays down as he's talking to his disciples. Matthew 20 and verse 20 and following says, Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to Jesus with her sons, bowing down and making a request of him. And he said to her, What do you wish? She said to him, Command that in your kingdom these 2 sons of mine may sit, one on your right and one on your left. But Jesus answered, You do not know what you were asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I'm about to drink? That cup is the cup of suffering. She was not aware of what Jesus was going to have to go to be put on the right hand of God. They said to him, We are able. He said to him, My cup you shall drink, but to sit on my right and on my left, this is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father. Now in hearing this, the 10 became indignant with the 2 brothers. Because they're probably thinking here, oh, they got to him first. I wanted to sit on the right hand of Jesus, but I wanted to sit on the left hand of Jesus. And now they're getting upset because they didn't come to Jesus or think of it first. You ever get upset with someone because they think of something first before you do? You don't get to take advantage of what they just took advantage of? Oh. So they get indignant. So Jesus calls to them in verse 25, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. It is not this way among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Just as the Son of Man, listen, did not come to be served, but to serve. What is he teaching his disciples who are going to be leaders out in the church? The important part is not to be leaders, but to be servants. In your service, you will lead. That's not what a shepherd, that's not what a sheriff does. Sheriff isn't serving anybody. Jesus says in verse 28, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. A sheriff is not going to sacrifice his life. A shepherd will. It's a sacrifice to be a shepherd in the church. It takes time. It takes heartache. It takes sacrifice from family. He is laying down his life for them. The next thing is we don't want to find is the pop manager. That is the Sunday to Sunday manager. The one that shows up on Sunday and makes sure that Steve or I are not preaching anything false. It's not found in the gospel. It's something that might lead other people astray. Okay, great. He's preaching the truth. He's preaching the truth. They're good. And they move on to the next week. Sunday rolls up again. Let's listen to see what James and Steve have to say again. Okay, good. They're preaching the truth. There doesn't seem to be any skirmishes, fires that are happening in the building. We're good to go. They might go and douse a few fires that might be happening here, but that's it. They put out a lot of little fires. They don't develop a lot of relationships. And so they continue to put out a lot of little fires that are all over the place, but then can be so consuming that there's so many that they can't get to them all. Rather than going and finding out what the fuel to the fire is and what the spark is and what the problem is. Well, how would they know that? That's how they build relationships. Unfortunately, I have seen elders like this who are just Sunday in and Sunday out. As long as the preacher is preaching the truth, our job here is done. And brethren, that's all involved. Shepherding is not a part-time job. It's not a part-time job. It's a life. It's a way of life. Kind of akin to a lot of these things, but the CEO rules from on high. He passes down edicts to the church without really much explanation that this is just how it's going to be. There's no transparency as to how we arrived at this decision. The thing I like about Phil and like about Daryl and Kirk when he was a shepherd is when they came up here to talk about the decisions that they would make, they would explain how they came to the decision. Here were the variables that were in play. Here is the situation, and this is why we arrived at this decision. And they always say, if anybody wants to come up and talk to us about that, please do. That's transparency. That's not a CEO that's sitting on a board meeting up on a high in a business thing that sends down an edict and says, like it or not. This is the way it's going to have to be. John 10:5, back to our passage in John 10:5. Verse 5 says, a stranger they simply will not follow, but will flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. What ends up happening is we don't know the voice of the CEO. We don't know their heart. We don't know their love. There's no relationship. You know, I remember working as a manager for a retail clothing store years ago, and we would get the email sent down from the CEO that all the big wigs were coming. And so we would have to make sure that the store was perfect. We had everything out right, in the window, because there was a window we could see them coming before they. And make sure to tell all the employees that were working that day, make sure you dress extra nice. Because I was a little lenient in some of their clothing. They still had to look professional, but I gave them a little leniency. But they had to look really nice, and I looked, extra nice on that day. We made sure that we had that guy, the greeter, there when they came in, and we were nervous about it because we usually meet these people. They send us emails. This is how your store should look. This is what you need to do. So when they came in, it was kind of an awkward, cold situation. And they'd come in and look at your store and tell you what was wrong with your store. You were doing some things that you were doing right, some things that you were doing wrong. They'd look at your numbers and go, okay, your numbers are good here, numbers are good here. Okay, why are your numbers dropping here? What's wrong? Let's go look at that section and see if we can come up. And it was just a very cold exchange from the CEO to the menial managers that make all their money. There's no relationship. How excited would I be after they leave to do what they want to a person that I don't really know? I had to be perfect. That's the beauty of a shepherd and sheep relationship, brethren. We're not perfect, and we don't need to come to the shepherds with perfection. We come to the shepherds with pain, with hurt, with sores, injuries, spiritually, that we need help with, that we need guidance with, that we need to be healed from. We shouldn't be having to approach a cold person with problems and have them just nitpick all the things that are going wrong with us. That's not what a shepherd is about. Brethren, we're growing. And as we're growing, there is being more and more put on Daryl and his wife and Phil and his wife. They need help. They need men and families who are willing to step up and help them in that role of a shepherd. Sometimes we look at it and we use the word as elder, and that term is fine too. It's describing the same position. We also look at it, we might see the word pastor in there. That's describing the same function, the same work, the same relationship. Actually, the word bishop is describing the same and the same work. They are the overseer, they are the shepherd, they are the elder with the wisdom and experience to help this flock be brought to God. And what a great and amazing work that it is. And we have two very capable men who are doing it. But they need help. It starts when we're young. This church needs more teachers. Brethren, what an amazing gift. We need more teachers. We need more shepherds. And the church will say, Amen. Come on, you guys. This is exciting. We're growing. We're growing. We have 150 schools, and our elders need help. We have classrooms that are full. We need more teachers. We need people to step up because we have more people that are coming that want to learn about God. That's exciting. And we're thankful for it, right? But don't put the shoes back in the shelf. We got to be thankful for it and go, okay, let's get to work. Because guess what? God is still growing us. We have visitors here every single Sunday, brethren. That's not normal. Let's be thankful and then show God we're thankful by getting to work and stepping up where we need to step up. We need to move outside of our comfort zone, and we need to start being leaders to the people that are coming within this church. People that are visiting, that want to learn more about God, that want to learn more about Jesus, that want to be saved, that want to have eternal life with Him. I can't think of a better way to say thank you to God than teaching the people that He's bringing to us. Thank you, God. Let's start teaching. Let's start working. Let's start leading. We should have the desire to do that. Because we might be saying thank you if we turn around and just come back next Sunday morning and not do anything at all. You know, in 5 months, God may say, you know, I brought you those people here, just like Lene bought me those shoes. And they were here for several months. And you haven't worn them. You didn't teach them. You didn't do anything with them. Well, I was saving until I was ready. I wasn't trying. Push yourself now. If you thought about teaching and you're worried about teaching and you've never done it before, there are several here who will teach with you. Maybe you're concerned about 13-week quarter. I can't teach 13 weeks. Teach 5. Find someone else who can teach 5, and then maybe 3 more. Say, I want to teach, but I'm only available for 4 weeks. Great. Let us know. We'll work it out. Don't come up with excuses that you haven't explained yet to some of the brethren here who are already teaching that we might be able to use you anyways. And men, Phil and Daryl need help. We need to step up and help them. And guard the flock that God is giving us. Acts 20. Why? Because there are people who are trying to take the flock away from God. And we need more shepherds to help guard. So, be excited about this. I was just kind of admonishing you guys a little bit, but be excited about it. This is a good problem we have, brethren. Feel blessed by this. And now thank God, and let's step up. If you are here this morning and you maybe you're worried about stepping up, you're worried about stepping out of your comfort zone, maybe you've never, or maybe you've come up with excuse after excuse after excuse, and you want to step up and you need the prayers of this congregation. This front row has been here, we'll be there, we'll rally around you, we'll help you. We want to help. There are plenty of good teachers here who can help you to teach you how to teach. There are leaders here who can help you to learn how to lead beyond what you've been taught. Let us get some mentors around here and start working with one another and build this church up. If you are not yet a part, you're not yet a part of Christ's church, not my church, not Daryl and Phil's church, but Christ's church. Christ offers you the opportunity to be one of His, to be one of God's children, to believe in Jesus as the Son of God, to leave that life that you were leading and come to Him and be immersed in a watery grave of baptism for the forgiveness of your sins, where you will be added to His church. Let us stand and let us sing.